Richmond, Meade fought the battle defensively, just as he intended, if not in the place he intended. His fighting men were as remarkable as he was. At Gettysburg, wrote Captain Fisk on July 4th, "The dear old, brave, unfortunate Army of the Potomac has redeemed its reputation and covered itself with glory." Gettysburg proved to be both the largest battle fought during the war and the costliest. The two armies between them lost more than 57,000 men during the Pennsylvania campaign, including some 9,600 dead. Repelling the Confederates' offensive and stripping the initiative from General Lee were the immediate consequences. The longer-term effects would not be so easily seen or felt. Still, Gettysburg marked the turning point of the war in the East. As Winston Churchill said of El Alamein, another turning point in another war, now this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. 1. We should assume the aggressive. John Beecham Jones, the observant, gossipy clerk in the War Department in Richmond, took note in his diary under date of May 15, 1863, that General Lee had come down from his headquarters on the Rappahannock and was conferring at the department. Lee looked thinner and a little pale, Jones wrote. Subsequently, he and the Secretary of War were long closeted with the President. That same day, another Richmond insider, President Davis's aide, William Preston Johnston, was writing more optimistically, "General Lee is here and looking splendidly and hopeful." However he may have looked to these observers, it was certainly a time of strain for Robert E. Lee. For some weeks during the spring, he had been troubled by ill health, the first signs of angina, as it proved. And hardly a week had passed since he directed the brutal slugging match with the Yankees around Chancellorsville. Although in the end the enemy had retreated back across the Rappahannock, it had to be accounted the costliest of victories. Lee first estimated his casualties at 10,000, but in fact the final toll would come to nearly 13,500, with the count of Confederate killed actually exceeding that of the enemy. This was the next thing to a Pyrrhic victory. Chancellorsville's costliest single casualty, of course, was Stonewall Jackson. "It is a terrible loss," Lee confessed to his son Custis. "I do not know how to replace him." On May 12th, Richmond had paid its last respects to this great and good soldier, and this very day Stonewall was being laid to rest in Lexington. Yet the tides of war do not wait, and General Lee had come to the capital to try and shape their future course. For the Southern Confederacy, these were days of rapidly accelerating crisis, and seen in retrospect, this Richmond Strategy Conference of May 15, 1863, easily qualifies as a pivotal moment in Confederate history. Yet the record of what was discussed and decided that day by General Lee, President Davis, and Secretary of War James A. Seddon is entirely blank. No minutes or notes have survived. Only in Clerk Jones's brief diary entry are the participants even identified. Nevertheless, from recollections and from correspondence of the three men before and after the conference, it is possible to infer their probable agenda and to piece together what must have been the gist of their arguments and their agreements, and their decisions. Their decisions were major ones. It was the Vicksburg conundrum that triggered this May 15th conference. The Federals had been nibbling away at the Mississippi Citadel since winter, and by mid-April, Mississippi's governor, John J. Pettus, was telling Richmond, "The crisis in our affairs, in my opinion, is now upon us." As April turned to May, dispatches from the Confederate generals in the West became ever more ominous in tone. In a sudden and startling move, the Yankee general there, U.S. Grant, had landed his army on the east bank of the Mississippi below Vicksburg and was reported marching inland, straight toward the state capital of Jackson. On May 12th, John C. Pemberton, commanding the Vicksburg garrison, telegraphed President Davis, "With my limited force, I will do all I can to meet them. The enemy largely outnumbers me." Pemberton offered little comfort.